wherever you sit, today's topic is in all skate. It applies to you. You've just got to apply it, okay? The question we always ask you to ask yourself while you're here is, what is Jesus saying to you, and what are you going to do about it? Jesus brought you here today, even if you're a first-time guest to Unlock Church, and we're so grateful that you're here. If you don't have a home church, make this your home church. We'd love to have you. We're on a mission to turn the Twin Cities upside down by serving. If you like that idea, we do camps and a bunch of other things. We love the Twin Cities. It's just in our DNA as a church. That's what we're running after. We say it this way: partnering with people to unlock their God-given greatness. Partnering is doing life with people. It's sitting in a room and talking about single people problems, or talking about how bad the Vikings played last week. Okay, we have those. It's just people stuff. It's doing life with people. So if you are a first-time guest and you don't have a home church, you found a home church, hang out with us. We'd love to get to know you and help you in life as well as you can help us in life. Today, it's asking, what is Jesus saying to you today while you're here, and what are you going to do about it? It can't just be, Jesus said this to me today. Maybe some of you, it was back a second ago when she talked about getting baptized. You're like, I've never done that. Quick, just like a statement of what baptism is. If you have become a follower of Jesus at any point in your life, and you have not gotten baptized since that moment, it's time. It's time. Next week, we're going to be ready. It's time. This isn't something you walk out of here and I got to pray about because Jesus said go do. This isn't let me pray about. The answer is get baptized. Not from Scott, but from Jesus. If you've never been baptized, that's one of the next steps in being a follower of Jesus. And what it signifies is what's happened on the inside. It tells the world on the outside. It's just one of those things. It's putting on the God jersey in a sense. You're telling people what team you play for, just like me wearing the Cardinals jersey today. It lets you know who I'm pulling for this year in the World Series. Okay, when that happens, I think the Cardinals are going to be there. It'd be great if the Twins are there. It'd make it an epic World Series for the Cardinals to win. It won't be a repeat of like 1986 or whatever it was when the Twins beat the Cards. See, look, you guys remember that because that's like the last one for you. Like we've got like I think 55. We're tied with the Yankees. I mean, we're just a pretty good club. But you know what team I'm rooting for because the jersey I got on, right? Getting baptized is putting on the God jersey. It's telling people, this is the team I play for. So if you've never done that, you can text. Can we put that up one more time? Is that possible, the baptism slide? So you can text that number. You can talk to me or Holly. We are not going to put a microphone in front of your face and say, hey, now why do you want to do this today? There's no talking. This is just between you and Jesus on the topic. And a bunch of people that are just going to cheer for you and be like, this is so awesome. You're going to love it. You might have some relatives here that might whisper in my ear and say, just hold them down a little bit longer. I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I might think it a couple times, but I'm not going to do it, okay? So if you've never been baptized, and you've become a follower of Jesus, this is your turn. It's going to be perfect for you. It's going to be one of those moments you will remember because you're going to remember what Jesus did in that whole day, and you'll invite friends and family. So get baptized. Jesus said do it. It's not really a, should I do this? Yep. Yeah. And if you're nervous, it's okay. It's part of the process. And so maybe that's what Jesus said to you today, or maybe Jesus is going to say something in the next few moments, but you got to do something with it. You can't just go, I'm going to get baptized. Yep. And not do anything about it. There's an action point to it, and that's on you. And the third piece of that we sometimes say, but it's the real fact of it, is what is Jesus saying to you? Identify what he says to you. What are you going to do about it? The action point. And then who are you going to tell? Because when you tell someone, now you got accountability. Woo, that's a game changer. You got to go, your friend calls up, hey, so that thing you said you're going to work about in your relationships, how'd that go? And you're going to go, you're going to do something about it, okay? So that's my hopes inside this series. We're going to use a box. Because here's what happens, what I've learned in relationships is that in all relationships, not just husband and wife relationship, but we all walk around with a box of our hopes, dreams, and desires. Like, it's just a thing. When you become like of an age and somebody goes, what are you going to do when you grow up, right? That's always the question. Why do we do that to the next generation? What are you going to do? Like doing is important. It's what are you going to be when you grow up? That's what's important. Are you going to be kind, loving? It's all about what are you going to become. The do part, everybody can figure that out. All I know is that, man, if I am worried about what my kids do and I don't really care about who they're going to be, they can earn $1 million in their life but not do the right thing with it because they didn't become the right person. The question we need to ask the next generation is, who are you going to be when you grow up? That's a big question. So Just on a tangent for you, that was free. But we do life with a box, and in it is our desires and hopes. And what we're doing is going around life is we're looking for someone to do life with. We're like, oh man, is she the one? Is she the one I'm going to do life with? Ooh, she's cute. I think she would like to. I'd like to. Yeah. And like I only know the guy's perspective, right? That's all I know. Girls, I try to figure you out. I don't know nothing. Okay, it's just there it is. I've read a lot of things I still don't understand, but I do understand this about relationships. Is we do life like this, and then there's a hot girl. Whoa, woo! Yep, I gotta get her name, her number, and then I think she can handle my box. And it's like, here, this is for you. This is all my hopes and my dreams and desires. You're gonna make it all come true now. It's your job, and it's just natural. Without even thinking about it, we got all these dreams, and we don't even have the discussions about, like, when we're in these relationships. Let's say they go from friends, because all great and healthy relationships should start out as friends, and then you start going, okay, I really like them, and wow, there's something really cool about them, and then it's like, okay, I want to date them, and then you go on these dates, and then all of a sudden it's like, woohoo, let's get married, and then it's like, yeah, let's get married, let's set a date. Let's set a date on our calendar. We're going to get married. And in our mind, in Western culture, we just think we set a date and we make a promise that everything's going to be all right. I promise to love you till death do us part. I promise to be a good man. I promise to only watch one game of football on a Sunday and then Monday and a Thursday or whenever the NFL chooses to play. I promise. I promise that I'll take out the garbage. We just say, right, oh, once we make these promises, it's good. And we rarely have conversations like that sports car that the guy wants. That's my dream. She's going to help me get my sports car, a Dodge Viper, yes. Here, that's going into your box, okay? Take care of it now. Find me the Dodge Viper. It's really fast. You're gonna get a job, right? You're going to work 2 jobs to help me get my car, right? Because we're a team now. And you're gonna take all my hopes and my dreams and my desires. And you got this, right, babe? But we want a Dodge Viper. Then there's rarely a conversation of kids. Somebody's going, yeah, I want 1 kid. So here we go. We're just going to have 1, right? Well, the other one goes, I hope we have another one. I would like 2. And the other's like, what? You just snuck that in my box. We didn't talk about that. What? I didn't think I just saw 1. It was like, in their box, it was like, no, I wanted 2. But if we get 2 of the same sex, we're going until we get the opposite sex, okay? We're going until, maybe we want a football team. Maybe we want 8. Maybe we want 12. I don't know. We're just going to keep going because we just said it's a thing, okay? And you just put it in the box. Like, here you go. Sneak that in. And then you're like, where are we going to live? We're going to live in a barn? A mansion? You don't talk about these things. It's just assumed that they know, hey, we're going to live in a big barn. We're going to redo a barn. Like, see somebody like, we had a family friend, actually the pastor we worked for in Ohio, he bought a ginormous barn where the 3 semis could park end to end across the inside, the underneath of the barn, and they turned it into a house. That was one of their dreams. And the other was like, I live in a barn. I literally live in a barn. Now, they did it really good, but man, these are people's real desires. And if you don't have these conversations, you're just, okay, it won't fit in this box, but you get it. Travel. Are we going to travel with Batman? How are we going to do it? Are we going to travel? Like, I want to travel and see the world. The other one's like, there's a lot in the United States. I just think we can stay here and visit the United States. Though we don't need to fly somewhere. Some of you are going to find out that you got like guys in your life, they want to be Batman. And you're like, whoa, that was one of your hopes and desires. You want to be, it's time to put the costume down. But it's like, no, baby, you're going to help me become Batman. And you just put it, how are we going to travel? Some of you don't even think, everybody has like, what are we going to do with our time? Are we going to watch football? Are we going to play volleyball? Are we going to fish? Are we going to hunt? How are we going to spend our time together as a couple? What are we going to do with our time? And all of a sudden, but I'm an outdoors guy, so I'm going to be outside doing stuff. And maybe he or she's like, I'm an indoor kind of person. I like the AC. And all of a sudden, because you didn't discuss about it, but he or she is saying, no, you're going to help me. You're going to help me get the big fish. You're going to help me go. You're just going to help me. Some of you are going to sit there and you're like, when it comes to the calendar, holidays. I remember when Holly and I first got married, there was a quick conversation. She's like, okay, this is how it's going to work, I think, right? Let's have this talk about holidays. I figure it could work like this. We'll spend Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving at my family's, and you can have the rest at your family. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, think about it. You got Halloween. You have like Labor Day. You got a lot of other things on your calendar. It's good. It's good. You're getting more than I got. But those are the ones, so we'll be all right. And all of a sudden, what happens is we transfer it into the other person's box. And what happens is my hopes, dreams, and desires are mine. But to someone else in the relationship, it becomes expectations. I expect you to make my dreams, hopes, and desires come true. And there causes a lot of tension inside relationships. Because when you don't help me get the sports car, it's your fault. And when you don't help me get to the basketball team of children, it's your why. What? You just want one? I don't want a spoiled child of one. We always have to have a buddy system in our house. And you just have all these fights and tensions start coming because all it was at the beginning, there was a transaction. The transaction inside relationships, take my box. It's your responsibility. It's a transactional-based relationship instead of a loving relationship, instead of a relationship of how can I help you? How can I help you achieve what you're going through? And this is not just inside dating relationships or inside marriage. This is every time you bump into somebody. If you've got friends and you've ever used the word, well, I just feel like there's a lot of expectations on me inside this friendship that I'm controlling the friendship. Well, that's because they've given their box of some kind of hopes, dreams, and desires to you, and you now feel like you have to fulfill them. And that's not a healthy relationship. That's not how Jesus spoke and taught on how relationships are supposed to be. It really creates this tension inside our lives. Like when we do marriage counseling, we're always like, okay, so who's going to do chores? When you get married, we move in together, who's doing chores? Oh, I never thought about that, but I just assume in my house when I grew up that my mom did all the chores, so I'm just assuming the woman would do the chores. And you see the woman that when the man says it, they're like, no, you didn't just say that. And you just get this like little, if they were standing, they'd rock back on one hip and go, I'm not doing, and it's all of a sudden, it's like, why? Why does that happen? Why? Here's what it is that when we join into a relationship, what we have seen and heard is what we take into our relationships. What we have seen and heard follow us into relationships. So the way your parents dated and married, that's a lot of our context, good or bad. That's the context we're bringing into our marriages or our relationships is what we have seen and heard. But the biggest contributor, if you were put it on a scale, what you've seen and heard, this next piece outweighs that tremendously. Like it would flip the scale. It's what you have experienced, not just seen or heard. But what you have actually walked through will drive you in a direction, not always healthy direction, inside relationships. Typically, it's like this. We're getting married. I don't want a marriage like my parents because of this. We look at the negative of relationships and say, I want to avoid those things, but never think about the good things that we want to pursue. We're always talking about avoiding something instead of pursuing something. Here's what I've understand. When we pursue something, what we've identified is here is not as good as there. But we don't define there, so we get stuck here, and all we do is try to avoid what we know we don't want. And that begins a destructive relationship when all you do is avoid. You as a friends or a dating couple, this is a great conversation to have when you're dating because you know what? When you figure out, hold up, you want no kids and I want 8 kids, that's a game changer, right? It's not, well, I'll wear them down later. It's not a wear me down conversation. That divides relationships. That breaks up things. When you enter into a friendship, that's why it's so cool to start out in a I want to maybe date them friendship mode for however long you want. Longer, better, but I get it. They're hot, and so you want to get there fast, and so you're like, I was friends 3 days. In 3 days, talk about their hopes, dreams, and desires so that you know what you're getting into. Because at some point, the hotness wears off. Because all of a sudden, the stuff, the expectations trump it because you're like, whoa, I did not see that coming. I don't want just Halloween. I want Christmas. And these conversations are helpful. And so we cannot just allow the experiences and what we've seen and heard drive us to somewhere. We need to define where we want to go as a team. And we've got to stop trying to avoid something or trying to repeat something. That is a vicious circle. So the question is to you first, what are your hopes, dreams, and desires? And how about the person you're in a relationship with? And the ladies in the room are like, whoo, I like this. Yeah, tell him to ask me. Tell him. I will. And the guys are like, wait, hold on. Whoa, wait, we're really good right now. I don't want to talk about, I think we're doing really good right now. It's like guys just want, one thing I know about cars, like especially a guy like me that don't know much about cars, all I want is, I don't want to talk about my car when it's running, and I don't want to talk about it when it's braking, but when it's running, I just want it to run. I don't want to talk about why it's running. I don't want to know why it's running. I just know it's running. It's a good thing. And some guys are sitting in the room, I don't want to talk about my relationship when it's going good. It just works. I don't need to talk about it. But ladies are like, I do. I want to know where we're headed. I want to know where we're headed. Growing up, I watched my dad. He loved to build cars, work on cars. And Sunday after church was the thing. He'd pull in all the cars, and he'd open up. It was like a weekly thing. He'd open up the hood. He'd look at them. And I remember my mom coming out going, why are you looking at all the cars today? None of them are broken down. He's like, well, I'm trying to prevent them from breaking down, so I'm doing some maintenance on them. I'm checking the fluids. And that's what this is about in this series. Maybe your relationship is pretty good. But a great way to maintain the health of your relationship is to check in on it and not wait until the idiot light comes on and go, oh no, we're about to run out of oil. That's not good. What are we going to do now? You don't need to wait till then. Check it periodically so that you know you're headed to where where you as a team have discussed it. Expectations. When they're placed on me and they're not my hopes and dreams, it makes me miserable. It makes me feel like I can't add up. I can't do something right. Therefore, you create tension inside a relationship. And oftentimes when that relationship is created, Jesus is trying to say, hey, it's time to fix this. It's not time to get quiet and go silent. It's time to fix this and to ask questions to the other person. But here's the result. If you don't sit there and fix the transactional relationship where I just handed my box off to, if you don't fix it, here's what happens. Either we leave, I'm out, I can't handle it anymore. I will never be good enough. We win, yeah, they're making my dreams and hopes and ambitions come to fruition. We conform, we just give up on what we're trying to go after. Or we compromise. Okay, you have that weekend to do what you want. I'll do this weekend if I want. I watched the kids last time. You watched the kids. And all of a sudden, it becomes this compromising situation like, hey, if you go, I get to go next time. And it becomes this contract that we have. It looks more like, okay, it's a 50-50 thing. If you get to do something fun, I get to do something fun. And all of a sudden, it becomes this very much different thing than what it started out with, which was, I love that person. I promise something. Now it's become very transactional. You go, I go next time. I haven't done anything fun for a while. And if these sound familiar, it's because I know I'm in a relationship. I've experienced this firsthand. And when I get here, I'm going, oh my gosh, here we are. We're just compromising all over the place. And some of you are like, but isn't that what marriage is? Isn't that what a relationship is? Yeah. From Western culture standards, yep, that's exactly what relationships are. It's just a bunch of compromising. Okay, I won't travel as much. I'll just travel inside the United States because they don't want to, and so I'll just travel here. I'll compromise a little bit. A real conversation we're having in the house right now is like, I'm trying to figure out how to get every child a one wheel. I just feel like every child in my house should have a one wheel. It's like a thing. And Holly's like looking at me like, are you serious? Like, really? We're going to have a couch in our living room right now, and you want one wheels for everybody? I was like, yeah. Who needs couches? We can sit on the floor. All we need is love, baby, and one wheels. Love and one wheels, okay? She's like, what we need is love and a couch. I go, you what? No, love and a one wheel. And it's like, here we are. It's like, who's going to compromise? Who's going to go, okay, Okay, half the children get one wheels and we'll get a love seat. It's smaller and we can still afford to get. These are real conversations. Like literally we were having this while I was brushing my teeth the other night. I was like, I really think we need it. And she's like, are you serious? What is wrong with you? You dropped on your head. Like she was saying in between brushes, so it didn't come out me. I laughed a little bit. Like who's going to compromise in it? Well, it's all about compromise. That's what people tell you. I literally heard, I like to talk to and learn from people that have been married for a long, long time. How'd you do it? A lot of times, a lot of them say, I married my best friend. That's probably 90% of the answers I get from those that have had marriages longer than 50 years. I married my best friend, and so it's been easy. Because there's a big quality to have been friends first because the foundation is so solid. And that is my opinion in my experience. Holly and I grew up together. We have it's a sick, silly thing, okay? From 5th grade, we ran into each other, and I was the guy, woo, she's hot, wow. She likes to play sports. She'll tackle me. This is amazing. I just cannot, oh my gosh. I proposed to her my sophomore year. She punched me in the face, and I was like, yes, this is amazing. I can be honest with her, and she'll put me in my place. This is so good. And then we dated for like a week in our senior year, and it was a little weird for her. She's like, oh, I've never dated anyone. This is weird. Like all of a sudden, and then she broke up with me, broke my heart, and it was like it was one of those deals. Like I don't think I've ever broke her heart. She broke my heart, so she owes me a few things we say. No. Then we went off and did an internship program for a year, and we started traveling on separate teams, and it was really the first time in our lives that we'd ever been away from each other. And somewhere along the road, we met up in Chicago, and we had a conversation. I was talking to her about a girl, because every time I started liking a girl, I'd always say, hey, what do you think about this girl? I dated a girl named Poppy. She won't let me live that down because her real name was Poppy. She's like, right there, Scott, seriously. I was like, don't hold anything back now, okay? But I dated this girl, Poppy, and she's like, I don't think so. No, she's not. She never gave any, like, hey, good. Those are good. I now know why, okay? Because she wanted me, and she didn't know how to say it. She just had it in a formal way of like, no, none of them are good enough. She's just waiting for it anyways. She, I told her at one point, hey, there's this girl I'm kind of liking. She's like, no, I don't think so. I was like, why? Why can't you tell me what you think? And then she kind of in a roundabout way, she said, because I like you. But because we were on this program, we couldn't date. And so it was like, oh, all right, great. Tell me now. And we got 6 more months of traveling. And so our relationship literally was from 5th grade on was just chatting and being friends. And then we started dating, and for 3 years we dated, and then we got married. I literally married my best friend. She knows every story. When we tell the story, we were there. It's not like, oh, when did that? We know. So that's where I'm coming from. Holly I love telling this, she's never kissed anyone but me. So I know it's possible. Then my wife did it. I kissed 3 girls, and that was it. That was it. Because I was really trying to do my best to take what I've read in the owner's manual and apply. And I don't say this now to make anyone that your story is different and make you feel guilty. Remember the video we started with? Grace is a part of the story with Jesus. And if you've not experienced grace with your past, then you've not encountered Jesus yet, because he loves you right where you are. He's not clocking you over the head saying, shame on you. He's saying, I want to forgive you. Let's move past that and keep moving forward. Stop looking backwards and going, I messed up. I can't get it right. No, that's right. It's the past. Now look forward and say, there's better. Forgiveness and grace is where I'm headed inside relationships. You don't have to be the person that your dad or mom was. You are a unique person. Put Jesus inside you and start moving forward, and it'll change your relationships forever. It's what we were talking about last week. We're a bunch of branches, and we got to plug into the vine. The vine is Jesus, and as we plug into the vine, the branches grow fruit. If we don't plug into Jesus, him being the vine, we don't grow the right fruit. Well, that's what this whole thing's all about. And so when it comes to relationships, what does yours look like? Is it just contracts? Jesus, he talked a lot about love, and we talk a lot about love here. And people are like, I just thought you were about love, Scott. Like this, like everybody's in, and yes, everybody's in. But when you look at Jesus's fine print of how he breaks down love, it's not just like, woo, everything's beneficial. Just go for it. Just go for it. Ask forgiveness after you do it, guys. It's all okay. I'll be right here. You go party it up. You cross all. I'll be right here. I'll forgive you. That's what people look at grace as. That's not grace. That's taking advantage of someone. Jesus wants to be our Lord, we talk a lot about here, saying, hey, don't do that. Because that's not good for you, not to control you. He's not manipulating you and I. He's saying that's not good for you. Like any loving parent says to a child, don't run in the street. When they're little, it's don't play in the street. Why? Because there's danger in there. It might not be present right now, but you could. Why would Jesus have something to say about sex and love and all of those things? Because there's danger inside those things. And if you don't do it right, you're going to get hurt and hurt somebody else. And so Jesus, right before he gets arrested, he comes back around and he's like, okay, boys. Author John records this in the book he titles John. And he's sitting there, he's like, okay, Jesus is like getting really like intense here. I better write this down. And Jesus says this in John 13, a new commandment I give you. And if you've been here any time, you know it. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. And I bet you the boys are going around. He's already said this. He's told us to love everybody. He said, a new commandment I give you. He said, hey, look, out with the law, and this is it, love. Love one another as I have loved you. And here's the deal. This deal for these guys, like, as I have loved you, they're thinking back, okay, so he fed us when we were hungry. He did a lot of cool miracles. That's great. Because Jesus hadn't died yet. So the aha moment for these boys hearing this isn't what we read it as. They're hearing, okay, as you have loved us, okay, and they're looking back over the last 3 years with Jesus, like you've done some really cool stuff for us. And then all of a sudden, you know what? Because this was just moments before Jesus was arrested, so we're talking about 3.5 days from the aha moment where Jesus is like, maybe even a couple hours from where Jesus is about to die for them, and they're going, oh, when he said, love one another as I have loved you. Oh boy, this is what he means. Lay down your life for the others. Yeah, woo! That means when it comes to our boxes, it's not transactional. Take it. It's, okay, let me take yours and mine, and okay, okay, your box is more important than my box. And the other person goes, your box is more important than my box. I get seasick and you want to go on a cruise. Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll figure this out. What I got to do. I'll Google it. I'll take care. You want to go on a cruise? My love says I will go with you. But the tension. The other person's going, let's go on a cruise. I know it makes you sick, but we'll have a good time. I want to go on a cruise. Their love would say, baby, if it makes you sick, we don't have to go. We don't have to go. And all of a sudden, you know what? Great, healthy relationships are when you get in a fight about, no, let's go, no, let's not go because you don't want to, because you're one another in each other. Those are amazing fights. But that's not what we fight about. We fight about because you didn't get something, that it's not yours. Those are the fights. We are to out one another each other. So Paul jumps into the scene. When you read through the Bible, you have the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They're the authors of their Bible. They are the eyewitness accounts to what Jesus said and did, and they recorded them down, and they made sure we followed and knew the fine prints of when Jesus says, love one another. Here's the fine print to it. We're not just taking this big word love and go, whoop, that's it. Just love everything. We love everybody. There's no, like, you have to jump into hoops to become a follower of Jesus. But when you get through the fine print of what love is, it gets really difficult. We're trying to live by the fine print of what Jesus says love is. And so Paul jumps into the scene, finds Jesus, and all of a sudden changes from his past. You think you got a past. Paul killed Christians. Like when he found Jesus, he was on his way to kill another Christian and had an encounter with Jesus, gave his life, asked forgiveness of his past, and went to there where there was better. He walked away from the violence and the murder and the hatred, and you should read your Bible and see what I'm talking about. He was formerly known as Saul, and his name was changed to Paul just so he could honestly walk away from his past and go, I'm a new man in Christ. When we find Jesus, become a follower of Jesus, we are new. The old is gone. And so if you're struggling with this, but you're like, I just don't know how to get past the past experiences and all these things. When you find Jesus, you are new. Leave the old that is bad and wrong. Leave it and go to there, where there is being a follower of Jesus. And so Paul, he begins to study Jesus, and he tries to break it down to make sure we understand what Jesus is saying. And so Ephesians, he writes this, we call it a book, but it's like a really long letter to a group of people teaching them Jesus principles. He's really breaking down the fine print of what love is. And so here he says this in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22, and this might be a reason for some of you, you've left the church or you got a problem with the church right here. Wives, submit yourselves to your husband as you do to the Lord. I'm going to read that again in case you missed it. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do to the Lord. I think we just solved all relationship problems right there. We're just going to pray, and we're going to get right out of here. No, I'm just messing. You're like, what? You would not do that. I get it. Right there, especially in our Western culture. With all the equality rights that are happening, there's a lot of tension in that. You're like, yeah, I got a lot of problems with that. I got a lot of issues. I get it. It's like, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as you do to the... You know, in the culture this was wrote, they all heard it and was like, uh-huh. Even the women didn't care. Because in their culture, this is what women just did. But Jesus was, I think, speaking to our culture because there would be a moment where this equality for everybody, and I want everybody's equal. So women, before you start going, where's he headed with this? I'm not headed, you just hang tight. We're teaching Jesus things here. So wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do to the Lord. Now, I want to read this in the way if we translated it from the Greek. I'm not going to actually use Greek words. If we would have translated it the way it was wrote in the Greek, this is how the sentence would read. Wives, to your own husbands as to the Lord. If we translated it exactly from the way it was wrote in the Greek to English, that's how it would sound. Wives, to your own husband as to the Lord. We were like, there's no verb. My wife's impressed right now that I caught that there was no verb there, actually, I think. But there's no verb, right? There's like, why? Why would he even wrote? Because when the Greeks wrote, it was always understood that the sentence before, you took the verb from the sentence before and applied it to the next sentence. So you cannot just come and read, wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do to the Lord without reading the first thing. You take it way out of context. And there's been a lot of people in churches that have just quoted this to tell women to get behind their husband. Now let's read the first part, because so now the husband's going, wait, what? I thought I had something there. Now I just lost it. Where are we headed? This is what it says right before this verse. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. This is to everyone. So then when you go to the next sentence, wives, submit to your husbands. Yeah, because you understand as wives, well, the first sentence covered everyone. He's now speaking to wives because there's a lot of tension inside relationships because you get to know the real person. You see, Holly gets to see me when I'm off the stage. She gets to see the real version of me, and if things don't add up, guess what? I lose a lot of respect for my own wife. If I say one thing and do the opposite, guess what? Lose some respect. Paul is trying to now speak to a group of people in a topic on husbands and wives for a second, taking what Jesus has spoken. He's trying to say, okay, so submit to your husbands because Jesus said to submit to one another. Here's the deal. A great relationship is a mutual submission competition. A mutual submission competition, that's a sign of great relationships where both sides are submitting. What comes next is why what came first is so offensive, because then we come and read, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. We read, well, why do the husbands have to just love? Because we've taken love out of it. Love is about submitting to one another. Love is a submission competition. It's a race to be first. No, that's how we think in Western. It's a race to be second, not to be first. How can I help them achieve their dreams, their hopes, and ambitions, and how can I help them? Not, well, they're not getting anything taken care of in my box. You just turned it into you, and that begins to sabotage the relationship. I don't understand, it's so easy. Paul goes on, in the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. As he loves his wife, loves himself. He should love his wife as he loves himself. It's all about submitting. It's not about, I had my fun weekend, now you get your fun weekend. It's not about those things. It's about you as a couple. How are you moving together in love, submitting to one another, in helping each other accomplish their dreams? In relationships, about how do I help them? How do I partner with them to go after what their dreams are? If they want to get a race car, how do I help them get a race car? It's not about, but I don't want a race car. It's having these conversations. So here's the real question. What's life to you? What is life to you? Is it about how much you can accumulate? Or is it about submitting to one another? And not just to your wife. This is about submitting to your coworker and your boss. We don't like that in Western culture. We want to be the leader. We want to be a boss. We want to set our own schedule. And those are great things as long as it's a way of serving other people. Here's how you get it from expectations from here, that it's not expectations and it's hopes, dreams, and desires. Is that you decide that he or she doesn't owe you anything. They don't owe you a weekend because they got a weekend. They don't owe you anything. If you're just starting to date and you can do your relationship that way, that the other person doesn't owe you anything, I promise you, you will alleviate a lot of tension in your relationship. So here's your homework. I want you, in what relationship you're in, or you have just a good friend, I want you to start asking the question, what are your hopes, dreams, and desires? And if you're married and you've been married for 20-some years and you're like, I haven't asked that question in so long, ask the question, what are your hopes, dreams, and desires? And you might learn a lot. You're like, whoa, I didn't know you wanted to go there or do that. I can help you do that. This will make your relationship something that you want, and other people will look at, how did you do this? But I understand this, that your objection is, what if I let the pressure up on him or her and they never come home? That I stop telling them they got to be home at 5 o'clock. They'll never come home. They'll stay at work all the time. Or if I let them spend hey, yeah, if you want to buy that, they're going to just spend all our money. We won't have any money. If I let them go to every trip they always want to go, I'll never see. I'll always have the kids and they'll never. Here's the tension. Happy couples know that they put each other first by going first in effort to be last. I'll read that one again because it's like, happy couples put each other first by going first in effort to be last. I'll help you get the car that you want. Now, hey, this is the car I want. It's a journey. I know I put a lot of tension inside relationships today, and you got a lot of homework. A lot of wives are like, I can't wait for this conversation. It's so good. I can't wait. Guys, you got to ask, okay? Because if you're not, here's the deal. This is the last piece of, we're going to drop, we'll get out of here. Women, by nature, you're controlling. Some of you just got offended. I'm going to give you the biblical principle. Here's the deal. Here's the perfect storm. Men, women, you're going to love this. Men, by nature, we're passive. We don't take charge. We sit back. That's my son asking the question. We're passive. Think about that. Think about that. And why do I know that? Go back to Adam and Eve. The very first big story in the Bible, that in the garden, Eve takes the apple. You got to read this for yourself. It's in Genesis chapter 3. Eve takes the apple. She eats it. She turns it around and gives it to her husband, Adam, and he eats it. It didn't say that he walked a mile to her. She turned to him. He didn't say a darn thing when she reached out to grab the apple, and he could have said, don't do that. He was passive. Passive. It's good. Those are great qualities, but not when they consume a relationship. When somebody's not willing to give up control and somebody's not willing to get in. So guys, when women ask, where do you want to go for dinner? Don't go, I don't know, I don't care. That's passive. Or you hear something going down with your kids and you're like, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to stay. That's being passive. Women, when men jump in and start to say, hey, I was thinking about this for the kids, don't go, well, this is what we're going to do. Let them be excited that they're not being passive. And guys, when wives give up some control, be excited about that because that's us competing against our own human nature. I'm not putting down women, and I'm not putting down men. But when you realize think about that, that's like a perfect storm. Because women, you want your guys to be involved, and the guys kind of want to be involved, but they're like, I don't care. But we do. We just don't want to have an argument. We don't know, like, if I tell you, yeah, that looks good, and then you're like, but I think it doesn't. You're like, I can't win. It's like, it's just this tension. Guys, don't be passive this week. And girls, give up some of the control. Not all the control. We need you to control some things, okay? The world will fall apart, okay? It will. Let's just be honest, okay? But you got to understand that's the tension. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not putting anyone down. I truly am not. I'm just trying to create some kind of tension in your relationship that you talk about it. Will you let me pray?